Testing, testing. Oh, come on. Okay. Everything's working.
Here.
The Cape May City Planning Board meeting is now in session, first meeting of 2023. And in compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act of 1975, adequate notice of this meeting has been provided. Should any member of this board have reason to believe this meeting is being held in violation of that notice, they shall so state at this time. Hearing none, we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Justice for all. Second.
Okay, roll call, Karen?
Sure, 1 moment. Mr. Becerra,
Here.
Mr. Jones,
Here.
Mr. Belasco,
Here.
Mr. Crowley,
Here.
Mr. Gorgone,
Here.
Mayor Mullick, Councilmember Yeager,
Here.
Mrs. Reed. Here. Mr. Lundholm,
Here.
Mr. Malloy, Mr. Paducis.
Here.
Thank you.
And before we get going, everybody, I'd like to welcome Mike back to the board. Congratulations on your election, re-election.
Thank you very much.
And there's really no other new members. Everybody else was reappointed whose terms were expiring last year, so that's good. Continuity is good. So the next item is oath of office. That would be for members who are term starts. You want to name who they are?
I don't have the list right in front of me.
Who's got a form in front of them?
I can, sorry.
All right, so Mike Jones, Gary Paducis, Mike Yeager, Lou Belasco,
Rick Lundholm.
Richard Lundholm, and Dennis? No, okay.
It might be me.
Well, no, if you don't have one in front of you,
No,
your
okay.
your term's still, you're in the middle of a term. You've got 2 more years left in your term. This is for somebody who's they're starting. Yes.
Okay.
So, PJ's go, okay. Oh, PJ's in that pinch hitting for Rich King, who's got COVID.
COVID again.
Yeah, again, yeah.
I'll read it out loud and just where the insert name part is, you can say your name. And I think that would be easiest if I go through all of them at once. So, I
Michael Yeager.
Gary Paducis.
do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the state of New Jersey, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same and to the governments established in the United States and in this state under the authority of the people, and that I will faithfully, impartially, and justly perform all of the duties of the office of Planning Board member according to the best of my ability, and that I will not use my office to grant preferential treatment nor to seek personal gain, favor, or advantage not available to the general public. Does everyone agree?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, you're officially sworn in.
So
Next item, pardon me?
could we just say, after they sign their oath, could they bring it to Mr. Mooney, and then he will do the rest of the part? Thank you.
Okay, we have, next on the agenda, the oath, well, we did that, oath of office, the election of the chairperson. Any nominations? William Bezier.
Second.
Okay, any other comments?
Nominations?
So we have a motion by Mr. Crowley, seconded by Mr. Lundholm. Mr. Belasco?
Yes.
Ms. Gorgone?
Yes.
Councilmember Yeager?
Yes.
Mrs. Reed?
Yes.
Mr. Crowley?
Yes.
Mr. Lundholm?
Yes.
Mr. Paducis?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Becerra?
Abstain.
Thank you.
Election of vice chairperson.
I'd like to nominate Michael Jones for vice chair.
I'll second that.
Motion by Mr. Gorgone, seconded by Mr. Becerra. Was there any other comment? Thank you. Mr. Lundholm?
Yes.
Mr. Crowley?
Yes.
Mrs. Reed?
Yes.
Councilmember Yeager?
Yes.
Mr. Gorgone?
Yes.
Mr. Belasco?
Yes.
Mr. Malloy? I'm sorry, Mr. Paducis?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Abstain.
Mr. Becerra?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
board attorney, which we have a resolution here. Nominate Rich King
Second.
of the firm of King and,
We have a motion by Mr. Bezier, seconded by Councilmember Yeager. Mr. Belasco?
Yes.
Mr. Gorgone?
Yes.
Councilmember Yeager?
Yes.
Mrs. Reed?
Yes.
Mr. Crowley?
Yes.
Mr. Lundholm?
Yes.
Mr. Paducis?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Bezier?
Yes.
Thank you.
Appointment of board engineer
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
for,
Oh,
Um,
for Craig Hurlis. For P.
Paul
oh, is it your
Steen.
firm?
It's technically Paul Steen.
Okay, Palestina. There we go.
Okay, that was a motion by Councilmember Yeager, seconded by Mr. Jones. Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Gorgone, actually. Was
Pardon me?
Mr. Gorgone.
Mr. Gorgone, thank you. Mr. Gorgone seconds. Mr. Belasco?
Yes.
Mr. Gorgone?
Yes.
Councilmember Yeager?
Yes.
Mrs. Reed?
Yes.
Mr. Crowley? Yes. Mr. Lundholm?
Yes.
Mr. Paducis?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Bezier?
Yes.
Thank you.
Do a good job, Craig. We appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Appointment of the Conceptual Review Committee, and honestly, I don't even know who's on that. It hasn't been used that.
I do have that information. Last year it was Mr. Belasco, Mr. Crowley, and Mr. Gorgone.
You gentlemen agreeable to remaining?
I make a motion that we appoint those three members.
Do we have a second? That was Mr. Lundholm?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion by Mr. Jones, seconded by Mr. Lundholm. Mr. Lundholm?
Yes.
Mr. Crowley?
Yes,
Mrs.
abstain,
Probably abstain.
abstain.
Abstain, okay.
Conceptually, I abstain.
After reviewing it?
Mrs. Reed?
Yes.
Councilmember Yeager?
Yes.
Mr. Gorgone?
Abstain.
Mr. Belasco?
Abstain.
Mr. Paducis?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Bezier?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, we have adoption of minute, dates, and times. Motion to adopt those?
Make a motion.
Second.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Jones, seconded by Mr. Gorgone. Mr. Belasco?
Yes.
Mr. Gorgone?
Yes.
Councilmember Yeager?
Yes.
Mrs. Reed?
Yes.
Mr. Crowley? Yes. Mr. Lundholm?
Yes.
Mr. Paducis?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Bezier?
Yes.
Thank you.
And the designation of the official newspapers for public notice. And I believe where we are now is the Star and Wave is the first, is our primary newspaper. And I think the Press is a backup for my,
Are you talking about the city?
They changed to, last year it was the Cape May County Herald and then the Atlantic City Press, yes.
We should do whatever the council has done.
We've done the Herald and the Atlantic City Press.
Press, okay.
I don't know if I agree with that, but that's, as long as we're the same as what the.
That makes sense, Mike.
It does make sense.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Okay, motion by Mr. Jones, seconded by Mr. Belasco. Mr. Belasco?
Yes.
Mr. Gorgone?
Yes.
Councilmember Yeager?
Yes.
Mrs. Reed?
Yes.
Mr. Crowley?
Yes.
Mr. Lundholm?
Yes.
Mr. Paducis?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Bezier? Mr.
Okay.
Bezier, yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And we have resolution for the board attorney and board engineer. We should probably do those together. Everybody looked at those? Anybody have any questions about those resolutions? Motion to
Motion to adopt.
approve me to sign the resolutions,
Yes.
the contracts. Lou made the motion and Dennis seconded.
Okay, motion by Mr. Belasco, seconded by Mr. Crowley. Mr. Lundholm?
Yes.
Mr. Crowley?
Yes.
Mrs. Reed?
Yes.
Councilmember Yeager?
Yes.
Mr. Gorgone?
Yes.
Mr. Belasco?
Yes.
Mr. Paducis?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Bezier?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, we have minutes for approval of December 13th, 2022. Any corrections to the minutes? Motion to adopt?
Second.
I'm sorry, who motioned?
Bob?
Oh, Mr. Gorgone and Mr. Jones. Okay, motion by Mr. Gorgone, seconded by Mr. Jones. Mr. Belasco?
Yes.
Mr. Gorgone?
Yes.
Councilmember Yeager?
Abstain.
Mrs. Reed?
Yes.
Mr. Crowley?
Yes.
Mr. Lundholm,
Yes.
Mr. Paducis,
Yes.
Mr. Jones.
Yes.
Mr. Bezier.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, we have any other items for discussion? And the only thing that I'll start with, and it's not going to be long, is that we talked at last meeting about taking some time on the suggestions for the master plan. There was a lot of issues that need to be addressed, and we really haven't tackled them. So I'll let Craig take over from there, but I think we're just going to, there's some, I don't want to say, we always say fairly easy things, they never turn out to be easy, but there's some items that Craig's going to, I think, send around. I'll let you take it from there.
Yeah, so what I should probably do is refamiliarize everyone with the recommendations that are contained in the master plan, and particularly the land use element, because that's, most of what the land use ordinances that this board deals with are contained in there. So I will grab that chapter and circulate it to all the board members. Hopefully they can review that, and we'll set aside, one of our meetings to start prioritizing those.
We'll start that next meeting.
Yeah, so, but I will forward that to everyone. A lot of those recommendations involve the adoption of land use ordinances, so it's always good to have the governing body involved, and,
Well, on that note, I talked to the mayor about this, and he actually thought he'd be here tonight, but he's would be asking us to send those to the council. They're interested in looking at them and seeing where we can move forward. So
yeah, so
the mayor's asked us to do that.
my point being, we should be on the same page as the governing body, says they have to adopt these things. So there's no sense just sending stuff, draft ordinances up to the governing body, and they don't want to touch them or don't want to endorse them. So their input should be very.
If you could just elaborate, I mean, the planning board's done its job. The master plan took a year and a half, 2 years to do. So technically, any action from that is on the council. But usually they send it back to us to make recommendations. So it's-
Yes. They can go from us up to them, and they can go from them down to us.
Right.
So, any land use ordinance, this board has to review for master plan consistency. If we're picking things right out of the master plan, they're obviously consistent with the master plan.
It'll be a process similar to when we corrected the datums.
Very, very similar to that, yes.
Okay.
And there's some easy ones in there, and there's some ones that need a little,
Let's start with
input
the easy
and,
ones.
probably further study.
All right. That's a good plan.
Everybody's okay with that?
Yeah. I like it.
Okay. Any other items for discussion?
Can we open to the public,
Sure.
since we have one person
Any-
here?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Well, I guess motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everyone. Good night.
Okay, good night.